Well, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me in my shop here. It's April 9th today. So, to be honest with you, it's getting pretty tough to come in this shop and work on this radio. What radio is that? Wait a minute, there's two here. Yeah, this is the radio I've been working on back here. I have this other radio here. The only reason is because of the capacitor. That's the only reason. This is the antenna from this radio back here. And I've been doing experiments on this antenna. So, just a touch of background. I've done what I can electronically to this radio, yet its reception's very poor when I use the antenna that came with the radio. Came with it in the sense that it arrived on my bench with this antenna. But this is not the proper antenna for that radio back there. And it actually took me quite a while to sort out that, in fact, this isn't really a proper antenna for it. The way this was connected originally was basically just across the capacitor here and made this radio impossible to operate, I'm pretty sure. So, in the meantime, setting the antenna aside, I've done other work on the radio, basically brought it up to the point where it's operating, and if you give it a good signal from a good antenna, like this loop antenna sitting here, it actually works kind of okay, I guess. It's not the greatest radio, but it certainly will receive. But without that antenna, without a good loop antenna, with just a wire, all you get is noise, and that's probably, the state of affairs today in the world filled with noisy electronic equipment. So a radio like this is fighting new battles. Was never intended to still be afloat today, but here it is. There it is. So this is just a spare chassis I have. I have no intention of ever repairing. So what's going on here? So I thought, okay, this radio is really a clock radio. You can see the cabinet here. It's meant to be mounted up on the wall. And can you picture it up on the wall with a long wire antenna attached to it? I can't. Imagine it, maybe in the past when people did that kind of thing, but today, hang an antenna outside, what? And hook it up to your clock radio hanging on your what? No, I don't think that's going to happen. If this radio is going to go into somebody's hands and they are going to turn it on and they're going to manage to receive something, it's going to be with this antenna or something like it stuffed into the back of the radio as I received it. So I thought, well, okay, if that's the case, then what can I do with this loop antenna to make it work better? Well, yesterday I did a number of experiments with it, and things were going along pretty good. I'll explain that in a second, but right after about an hour, suddenly everything stopped working, and I kind of gave up on it. And so I did not post that because I was so disappointed that everything kind of went south. But I couldn't sit still after that, so I was in here yesterday evening and I put this little rig together using this board here. There's lots of parts on this board, but you can ignore everything behind my hand. It's just this little corner here that I'm making use of. The rest of these parts are just on the board for no particularly good reason, nothing to do with what I'm up to. So I'm just using the breadboard here as a way to connect a few things. So what have I done? So I thought, well, maybe we can make this other radio work better at maybe a small range of frequencies where most of the stations are anyway. I'm assuming this radio is going to go to Toronto. It's going to live on in the area of Toronto. There's a number of stations that are all located fairly close together at the low end of the AM band in Toronto. Much stronger there than here, too. I'm about 100 miles away from Toronto or so here. So if that's the case, then maybe I can do some kind of fixed tuning thing to make this little antenna become more resonant, right in the range of the area where the stations are, and presto, this antenna installed with this radio back in this clock cabinet, and they're going to be able to tune in at least one station. That's what I got down to. So yesterday I did all that experimenting, as I said. I'll explain the experiment to you and how it came out. I'm going to replicate it here to double check everything that I did. And the result last night was pretty good. So I just stopped. I have not actually put any of this back with the other radio to see what would happen. Still just fiddling around here. I'm using this variable capacitor to find the resonant capacitance, or the capacitance necessary to make the loop antenna resonate at a chosen frequency. For instance, 590 kilocycles. There's a strong sports station at 590 in Toronto. If I can make this antenna sing at 590, maybe sticking it onto this radio, presto, I'll have at least a radio that can pick up one station and a couple others that are close by, because they may be strong enough. Whereas here, no. Okay. So I did that. So I got this antenna. There's 2 wires coming from it. I brought them down to my breadboard and fed 2 wires up to this capacitor. So the capacitor is in parallel, I guess you would call it parallel, is connected to this coil. And then using only 1 wire, that's this red one you see here, I have this connected this is the antenna input to my SDR, which is sitting right over here. Now there's a ground lead coming from the SDR. I just left it. It's just hanging here and doing nothing. This is very similar to how this radio is. This radio is going to sit here. It has an input to itself. It would be like this red wire. It's just 1 lead. What happens if you hook 1 lead up, just 1 lead, to a resonant coil? Does it actually work? And I think I'm going to show you the answer is yes. Then by adjusting the capacitor here, I discovered the hard way that if I get my hand too close to this or touch this, everything goes crazy. So I've got my little stick here that I put on so I can tune this without touching anything. And we can watch and see the resonant point in the antenna. You can do that 2 ways. One is just by looking at it on the SDR spectrum display. And the other way is to include a sweep signal, which really makes it apparent what's going on here. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go drink some coffee. Next time I'm here, in just a few seconds in video time, we will use the sweep here. We're going to sweep this antenna. We're going to hit it with a signal that's sweeping and look at it on the SDR, see what we can find out about this coil connected to this capacitor. Okay, that's almost 8 minutes of talk. Okay, here we go. I'm going to turn on my voice. Forgot to talk there. Okay, so what do we got here? So we're looking on the SDR through the broadcast band area. And you can see some stuff happening here. I don't know what these are yet. This red line represents where the SDR is actually tuned. Right now it's tuned to 860, which is a French-speaking station. I don't hear it. Do you hear it? What do we got for an antenna? So let's just double check. Yeah, so I'm touching the antenna lead and you can see the effect. So the antenna is currently, the antenna to the SDR is currently connected just 1 lead to the coil. The coil is being resonated by the capacitor up here. Is it? Is it really being resonated? Well, if I change the value of the capacitor, we can see. That's why a variable capacitor is so important here. Okay, this is where things either work out or they go sour. Let's see. Watching the SDR now. Very good. And you can see a boost go along all the way to there. And that will come back. You can particularly see this in the waterfall display also. You could hear it come out of the speaker as we went by. And you notice that it's wider at the high end. The number of frequencies being captured by the resonance is greater, or the Q is less. Not really sure how to put that. It's much sharper down here. So if we try to get it where the red line is, very sharp. There we are. So now we're listening to 860, but I don't hear any radio station. Let's see what we can do here. No radio station. Now wait a second here, I've forgotten something. I've got the sweep generator connected. You could hear it. Okay. I'll leave it off for now. That's what this antenna is. I skipped a whole step here of explaining something. So this coil here, just another antenna, is connected to the signal generator. I'm going to lay it aside right now, because what we're trying to do is pick up a station here. So I think we're still tuned to 860, and we're not going to pick it up. One of the things I found in fiddling with antennas, just about my entire life, all kinds of antennas, is trying to make them work like they're described in a book. It requires an ideal setup. So if you're told the dipole should be a certain length, should be a certain height, the height is pretty high, and you can't do it, so you don't have it high, you have it low, and in fact it's on a funny angle, and one part of it's stuck in a tree, and the lead you're bringing up isn't right, and just everything is a little off. In the end, what I've come to conclude is better to do everything empirically, make some calculations, get a ballpark, that kind of thing, but then do everything empirically after that, because there are too many variables out of control in the real environment. Now that's what's going on in my shop here. I'm not out in the middle of space here. Look, I'm surrounded by all this metal, it's all grounded, and all kinds of stuff. So experimenting is the way to go. Now, what am I finding out here? I'm finding out that there's a resonant point that can be set by the value of the capacitor here, and I can find out what value to set the resonant point wherever I want it. Let's try 590. So I'm going to tune the SDR radio to 590. Put the sound back on. Anybody there? I don't hear any sense of a station. Now I'm going to turn this way. I get no impression of a station. Okay, so we're going to try to tune the antenna now to bring the peak, or the resonance point, in line with the radio. Wrong way, this way. I went right by. If you get really close to your screen, if you look where the red line is, I'm going to take that back. There's no sign of 590 here. You know, I was doing this yesterday evening. Perhaps the radio conditions were different enough that I was able to pick it up. But sure can't pick it up right now. Let's try, let's go back to 860. Okay, can we hear anything? No would be the answer. Now we'll try to tune this. $860, Joe, not $850. $860. 860. Again, maybe because I was doing this in the evening, I was having better luck because I was able to pick up stations. Or has something else happened here? I know what's happened. I've turned off my outdoor antenna. Okay, I have to go turn it back on. Okay, let's... You know what? It doesn't make any sense what I just ran and did. Because I'm not using that antenna. Duh. What happens if I hold it close though? What happens if I just hold it close? Nothing. Nothing useful. Okay, well, I'm not going to let this stop me now. I must hear one station. Yeah, what was I thinking there? Well. That's okay, I rescued both my cats from outside. It's beautifully sunny today. I'm just turning the volume down on the SDR here. It's beautifully sunny today, so it's warm in the sun for sure. But it's very cold out. It's only 1 degree. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? My experiment is flopping again. Because I was able to pick up stations. And, okay, well, I'll show you the rest of the demonstration anyway. What I did was, I then picked a couple target frequencies. For instance, 860, where we are right now, was one of them. I then measured the capacitance of this. I disconnected the wires, which I'm not going to do now. Check the capacitance using this device. I then found a capacitor that's pretty much the right value to replace this with. So I remove this from the little circuit board here, like so, and then stick in, watch the SDR here. Come on, go in. Stick in a fixed capacitor in an attempt to get the same kind of resonance. Does it look the same on there? I don't think so. Don't hear any more or any less, station-wise. The thing is, at least when you're in the lower part of the band, the Q of this is very high, so it's a very, very sharp filter. So the other thing is too, when you put in a fixed capacitor and you fix all this, you can't see what's going on the SDR. Unless we bring in the sweep. If we bring in the sweep, it all becomes pretty obvious. So I'm going to do that. So we're going to just put it here, basically very, very close to the other antenna. And we're going to jack this up now so we can hear it. Let's turn it on. Okay, we hear it. And we see it. And I notice I got the capacitors backwards because the resonance is at the other spot. That explains a few things. So, see how easy it is to see where the resonant point is? Let me go back to the variable after taking a note of this. Where is this? This is happening right at... I want it at 590. But it's off by a little bit. I add a little capacitance with my finger. It didn't help. Apparently I'm not a good capacitor at all. So we're just shy of the right value here. Fixed value. Down here. Way down here. Now we'll switch to the other capacitor. I have to assume what I can see with the here's the other capacitor. Well, this will be the 860 one. There you go. Now we see the peak is in a very different place. Did I get it to 860? Let's just turn the sound off there. 820. Well, that's interesting too. Now, I still have part of this capacitor hooked up, the variable capacitor. I have only one wire hooked up. The other one is just laying here. But how much you want to bet this is still having an impact? Let's see. Did you bet anything? Because you're about to win. You're about to win if you bet something. Okay, so if it is having an impact, it's minor stuff. See? Oh, that was my hand touching that. It's another lesson I had a hard time learning. Because every time I did something, I was holding this down until I finally realized, wait a minute. Everything is affecting everything. Okay, so what this says to me is the idea is sound. That's what I think I'm getting at here. The idea is sound, to make this resonate at the frequency of choice with a fixed capacitor, carefully chosen. The only problem is this is out on my bench like this. When I finally put it in the radio, put this antenna where it needs to sit, I'm not even sure about that, stick it all back in the cabinet, and everything's going to be off of just a little bit. And a little bit is quite a lot when you have such a sharp response. I could unsharpen the response by throwing a resistor in the right place and bring the Q down and broaden out the bandwidth. But what I'm really trying to do is help this radio, this one back here, with as strong a signal as possible going into it. So bringing it down by dropping the Q is kind of counterproductive. So another option would be, how could I ever incorporate a capacitor like this? And you have two tuning knobs starting to turn into a 1920s radio. That's a possibility, but that's not a winning solution. Another solution would be to put a pad on the capacitor. So the capacitor is close right now. The capacitor, this is a 330 or a 500, I can't remember now. 330, I think. If I put in a trimmer with another 15 picofarads, so you have 530, you could go from 530 to 545. Now that might be just enough to home in dead on one of the stations and allow some variability, just as they do when they build the radio initially. They build the radio initially, it has all these alignment adjustments because they can't guarantee the outcome off the assembly line. So you need compensators, which is all that alignment stuff. If they could guarantee that you build a radio with discrete parts and just put it all together, voila, pour cement over it and it works, if they could do that, they would have done that. And I can't be expected to do it myself, I don't think. Or the other alternative is somehow put this antenna back in the radio, put it all back together, and then start trying different capacitors. Now the difficulty with that is capacitors come in discrete sizes, and there's nothing in between necessarily. So if you need a capacitance that's in between, you're not going to find a discrete component for it. Plus, once this is all back in the radio, this starts becoming more and more difficult. Although I could still produce the kind of thing you're looking at on the SDR, I could still involve the SDR in it. For all I know, having this SDR connected is throwing things off. Let's find out. I said, well, now how can we see it on the SDR? Because I'm clever enough. That's out. So I'm going to put a pickup coil now on the SDR antenna. It's just a clip lead, a coiled up clip lead. This should be enough though. Okay, hopefully. Oh, I can see it quite clearly. Oh, where is it now? It's on a different spot now. Oh, now it's very close to 860. $869. 869. That's from removing this wire. Okay, I'm looking for tuning effects. I don't really see any doing this. Okay, this is better. This is better. So let me just put this down here. Okay, we can still pick it up, still see it. So now resonant point, very close, 869. What happens if we reduce this to 860? So we're still very close, but we're down this far. So we're just missing the peak. And this really shows the idea that a trimmer would be a great thing, assuming we need a little more capacitance to get to where we want to go. Looks like a trimmer has to be incorporated. So a fixed capacitor with a trimmer targeting one station, not this one. And we wouldn't target this one. Hey, can I hear it? Let's get rid of the that. Turn the radio up here. You can still hear my sweep generator. Okay, it's out of the picture now. And we're listening to 860. We're listening to it on a pickup coil. Oh! Okay, here's what we're going to do. Turn the sound off there. We're going to go back to this variable capacitor, which is okay. Pull out the fixed capacitor here. Stick in the variable one. Did I get it in there? Like so. Let's turn on the sweep again, which is verify. Verify by tuning. No, something's not right here. That's correct. This is what happened yesterday when I was doing this video. The whole thing just suddenly stopped completely. And I couldn't sort out why. Okay, so this, I know what I may have done here. Didn't go in there. This wire's a little big. There we go. Okay, now I don't think I have this in the right place. That's the problem. Pickup coil here. Okay, Mr. Pickup Coil, can you do it there? Looks like it. Ooh, what's that dip? Well, that could be a effect of a number of things. I'm talking about the dip right here. This dip. That's a new shape. Isn't that odd? Okay, now we're going to tune the capacitor and just see that. Yeah, we definitely. Well, I don't know where that dip has come from. Curious. So the sweep is not going all the way to the end of the broadcast band. You can see the blue bar on my SDR marks the end of the broadcast band. The sweep is stopping short. It's the limit of my sweep device. So if we want to try 860, and that's where the red line is right now, we would bring this. Okay, that's dead on 860. Let us listen to it. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Turn this up. It's a little better than before. My hand really helps out. Excuse me. Okay, proof positive. Let's go down and try this now at, this is a fairly weak station, by the way. So we'll go down to a stronger station. Go down, down, down. More capacity. Down around, I want to go around 590. Now what happens is the tuning capacitor effect kind of disappears when you get to the bottom of the band. It just doesn't do much. So I could just okay, I would say that's peaking 590 there. Let's put the tuning down to 590. Whoops, whoops. Okay, next step. Next step is we measure the capacitance of this. So what we need to do, we want to disconnect the wires from here. What a hassle. Maybe just one of them. Disconnect one wire. The capacitor is on its own now. .349 picofarads. You see the capacitor is almost closed. It's around a little over 400 when it's closed. That makes sense. 350. So a 350. A 350 should resonate with this coil at exactly the frequency of that station. 350. What have I got here? I've got a 330. So we're 20 short. So this would cause the tuning point to be too high, wouldn't it? Would that be the case? So I'm going to pop this capacitor in. We're going to watch what happens. Let me just get one leg in. Turn the sound on here. Ooh. Not much on that antenna now. Okay. In. Looks to me like it's dead on. Okay. This should not make any difference anymore. But you never know. A stray capacitance is kicking around here. Okay, I'm going to stop for a while and think. Because I basically 3 or 4 times over now I have proven to myself that this can be done. All I gotta do is take that capacitor, attach it across the antenna here, attach the antenna back to that other radio in the back there, and this radio should be able to pick up 640 just as well as you heard it, maybe a little better, because we're using a loop picking up a loop, loopy loopy. Yeah, okay, so we're going to try the same thing basically on the real radio. That's really what I'm trying to say. Okay, coffee break time. Okay, I think we're ready for an experiment here. I have the antenna with its 590 capacitor connected, and I have one wire from the loop, just one wire going over to the radio. It doesn't seem like a very effective way of doing this to me. Seems to me you need two wires going like that, not one, but it is what it is. I think we're ready to start it up. Just doing the last check. Now volume control down. Yep, that's as low as it'll go. Who knows where the radio's tuned? Don't know right now. We're going to take a shot at it. Here we go. Just a little surprised the dim bulbs didn't come on. Tubes are lighting up. Here comes the radio. What will we get? My guess is we are not going to hear the station. That's my guess. Okay. Tuning. See you later. Go by the resonant point of this antenna. If it's feeding a signal into here, we should hear a boost, even if it's just the noise. There it is. Did you hear it? I heard it. Oh. I heard a signal. Can you hear the signal? Can you hear the radio station there? Can you see the black cat rummaging around down by my feet? Okay, direction. Weaker. About there is about the strongest. That didn't really help. That suggests it's a resonant antenna that's helping out. Now there is a variable. Trimmer that I can fool with here. I'm not sure what it's going to do. As I can get it there. Well, it's receiving. I mean, it's receiving in my shop. Put this in a different location. It's going to sound way better. Okay. I think I got there. a little floored. We can get rid of this extra wire here. I don't think it's doing anything. There it is. One wire. Interestingly enough, if I plug this into a regular outlet, we might get a very different response out of this radio. Just maybe. Because this is going into an ungrounded, isolated... let's try that. So I'm just going to pull the plug out, shove it into an outlet down here. Oh, that's interesting. I just turned some lights on. Noises everywhere in my shop. Okay, let's try it. Here we go. No grounds on it. Nothing on the radio. Okay. If I had equipment like a meter ground or something on the chassis, I'd be very hesitant to try this. Well, okay. So we don't hear it now. So I'm going to reverse the plug in the outlet. Okay, we'll see if maybe, I don't see why, but could the radio be tuned? I can't imagine that. Yeah. I notice each time I pull the plug out, and a moment later I can hear a voice come out of the radio. So we're back into this, and I can hear it again. What's happening? So the actual voltage here is 114. Let's try that again. Out of here and into a regular outlet. Okay, reversing it. There it is again. I still hear, but very, very faint. Isn't that odd? Is it the variation in the supply voltage? There it is again. Just for the fraction of a moment. Okay, I can vary the supply voltage with this knob. Right, where'd you go, radio? Turn off those lights to get rid of the interference. Get rid of a wee bit. Okay, experimenting with the voltage here. What was that? What was that? Why is it getting louder and louder? What's happening? Okay, voltage. Going down first. It's 92 volts. I think it's going to fade right out when it gets there. Well, I didn't hear any drift, and it just got quieter. Let's take it back up to where it was. Yes, Shadow. Did Peanut send you? Peanut send you down here? We're just working our way up to... Okay, so that's about the same. Come on, Jack. Hang on. Now we're going to go up in voltage. Oh, interesting. Yes, Shadow. What's up? You want to go outside? Okay, so I'm listening to this radio now. It's pretty good. Okay, next step will be put it all back together, back into the cabinet, and see if I can maintain this level of operation. If I can, I'm declaring it a wonderful success. But for now, I have to go play with my cat. E6000 claims it is better glue than any. I think a lot of them make that claim. I think I have some dry bits of dry glue here. Come on. Sure seems awfully tacky. It's going to blow out the sides here. Don't need much to do the job. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be picking glue out like this. Okay, here we go. One batch there. And another. Is that going to stick? Oh my gosh. I don't know. Make sure it's... Time for some new glue. Yes, it will stick. Okay, we're going to let this solidify. Stick it in there. We will see what happens here with this radio. Okay, we've reached the moment of truth. It's kind of a nice looking. Like that would look nice on somebody's wall, particularly if their room is styled, you know, for the 50s or 60s or something like that, like a rec room or something of that sort. Okay, I can't delay any longer. Let the truth be known. The truth be known. Okay, Powering on first through the dim bulbs. And then full power. Clock only running right now. Okay, turn on the radio. Light came on. Hum came out of the speaker. How come? What are you gonna do, Mr. Radio? Just a little bit of light left in there to be seen. Come on, radio. Don't let me down now. I can see the tubes are heating up. What's the matter? Why so quiet? Come on, radio. Why are you doing this? That's full volume. Something happened to it. Ooey. Well, let's give it the shock treatment here. No. And the squeeze treatment. No, there's nothing to squeeze. Come on, little radio. No, there's just nothing left. There's nothing happening. Nothing left. Nothing left. It's a heartbreaker. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to take the back off and sort out what happened there. Could it be so simple as just putting the antenna up against the radio has just nullified everything? Could it be that? Oh my gosh, really? Do I have the sound of disappointment in my voice? So I like doing this work, but not when it drags on like this. I think with anybody, when these things start dragging on, the pleasure drains out. Okay, so I've turned the radio off. The antenna is still connected. The antenna is caught in the capacitor. This connection needs to be resoldered here, but I can't imagine that's the cause. Okay, let me just solder up the wire there. Well, that can't be the cause though. Okay, let's operate it out here. See what happens. The antenna laying flat here, I think, is probably the least effective way of having the antenna. Almost no volume. Why are you like this now? This is what has happened. A few times while I worked on this radio, it got louder and quieter, just briefly, and there didn't seem to be anything much I could do about it. Is it just a tube in the tube socket? Appear not to be. What could have changed? What could possibly have changed? Just to knock the volume right out of it. Volume's up full right now too, so if it comes to life, seem to be that the antenna is not connected. What could have changed with it? The tube gave out just now. We're running it with 115 volts. Oh my gosh, really? This is what's going to happen now? Well, it's into the afternoon here, so I'm going to have to stop at this point. I don't know what I'm going to do with this radio. I've put a lot of effort into it, and to have it just kind of come out like this is really quite disappointing. Well, maybe I can stick at it a little bit here. Let's stick handle. That's hockey talk. If it comes to life, I'm going to jump again. Oh. So... Nothing really changed in putting it up here. Installing it, there was nothing dramatic. Not sure, I think that's a tuning effect. To run the vacuum tubes through the tube tester again. Almost a short there, but there isn't. I think I gotta run the tube testers, or the tubes through the tube tester again. Didn't these all test really good? I've done too many radios to keep it all straight. Well, I'm gonna draw this to a close here, and this guy's gonna be here for another day. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'm not going to give up here.